Yeah, hi. So, we were on page 164 and we saw how Shakespeare himself all of a sudden, I mean we are not told that it's a student acting as Shakespeare or somebody playing Shakespeare. Shakespeare just arrives. Okay, so Shakespeare just bursts on the scene and he takes a bow, and then he starts rattling off lines, original lines, authentic lines from Hamlet, and uh, something emerges, some kind of a hodgepodge speech emerges. Again, you can see what Tom Stoppard is doing. It's a very clever play on Shakespearean soliloquies and his language. Mm, Coming down a bit, a castle battlement, thunder and wind. So, you just imagine all those artificial sounds being created somewhere in the background, you know, all those kinds of sounds which usually accompany a typical amateurish kind of a play, school play. Enter two guards, Bernardo Marcellus and Francisco Horatio. The guards are played by Abel and Baker respectively. Their costume for a typical Shakespeare play, except that they have short trousers. They have short trousers because they are just schoolboys. So, they are typical Shakespeare, but so do you feel that there is some kind of a punning going on here also? Dressed up like as if in a typical Shakespearean play, but in short trousers. Any comments on this? Well, the play itself is so abridged. Okay, all right, and it's no wonder that the boys are dressed in shorts. Guards on the platform. Platform, if you remember, constructed by Easy, the only person who speaks the language. Bernardo. Now, these are again my please pay attention. This is actually the lines from Hamlet. Okay, there are no changes. It's not as if he is parodying anything. It's these lines are in fact from Shakespeare, but heavily truncated, heavily abridged. Bernardo, who is there? Francisco, nay, answer me. Bernardo, long live the king, get thee to bed. For this relief, much thanks. What, has this thing appeared again tonight? The ghost of Hamlet's father. Peace, break thee off. Look, where it comes again. Looks it's not like the king. By heaven, I charge thee, speak. Points and looks left. It's here. Points and looks right. It's there. It's gone. But look, the morn in russet mantle clad walks over the dew of yon high eastern hill. On, but look, a cut out sun shoots up over the stage, left screen, and descends here. Let us impart what we have seen tonight unto young Hamlet, exeunt and scene. A room of state within the castle, a cut out crown hinges over stage, left screen. Flourish of trumpets, again those artificial sounds. Enter Claudius and Gertrude, who is played by Mrs. Dog. Mrs. Dog, Mr. Dog's wife, and then you have Claudius, and they have just so who is Claudius and who is Gertrude? You know, Claudius is the uncle, and Gertrude is Hamlet's mother. Claudius, though yet of Hamlet our dear brother's death the memory be green. Enter Hamlet, who is played by Fox Major. No wonder, because he is the topper of that school, the star. Okay, so naturally he gets the lead role. Our sometime sister, now our queen, have we taken to wife, but now my cousin Hamlet and my son. Okay, so fine. I'll go on, read on a bit more. A little more than kin and less than kind, exit Claudius and Gertrude. Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt. Again, this is a very celebrated soliloquy from Hamlet. Oh, this too solid flesh would melt, that it should come to this, but 2 months dead. 2 months, my father has been dead only for 2 months. So loving to my mother, frailty, thy name is woman. I am sure all of you are familiar with this very famous line from Shakespeare, frailty, thy name is woman. That means that inconsistency, women are of inconsistent nature, that is the idea. It is not physically frail. Frailty, thy name is woman, that weak in character. My father died dead only for 2 months, and look at her, she married again. Married with mine uncle, my father's brother, the funeral baked meats did coldly furnish forth the marriage tables. Again, renowned lines from Hamlet. The for funeral you have a kind, some kind of a lunch, some kind of a preparation, meal preparation, and he says that the same food was served for the marriage. It's not like they actually did so, but it was so swift and so fast. There wasn't much of a gap between the two events. There should be a decent gap between a funeral and a marriage, but here it almost seemed as if, straight from a funeral you have embarked upon a marriage. The crown hinges down. Horatio is Hamlet's best friend, rushes on. My lord, I think I saw him yesternight, the king, your father, upon the platform where we watched. It's very strange. Armed, my lord, a countenance more in sorrow than in anger. My father's spirits in arms, all is not well, would the night were come. The moon hinges up, exon to parapet, and scene. The castle battlements at night, noise of carouse, cannon, fireworks. Horatio and Hamlet appear on platform built by Easy. The king doth wake to-night and take his rouse. Though I am native here and to the manor born, it's a custom more honoured in the breach than in the observance. Wind noise. Look, my lord, it comes. Enter ghost above the wall built of blocks. Angels and ministers of grace defend us. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. Alas, poor ghost, I am thy father's spirit. Revenge his foul and most unnatural murder. Murder? The serpent that did sting thy father's life now wears his crown. O my prophetic soul, mine uncle, exit goes to Horatio. There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Exit Horatio. Hereafter I shall think me to put an antique disposition on. The time is out of joint, O cursed spite that ever I was born to set it right. Okay. Again celebrated lines from Shakespeare, but then abridged, truncated. What do you think now Stoppard is doing? One is that he is calling attention to himself. Okay. It's not easy to adapt Shakespeare. Okay. But if Stoppard is able to do this, that means that he is a genius in his own right. Okay. So, that could be one purpose, one very obvious purpose, that it is extremely self-referential, and it's not as if at any moment he lets us forget that we are indeed watching a play. Okay. All these artificial sounds, artificial set construction, mentioning of Easy and the platform built by Easy, and the crown hinges on, and the sun sets and the sun rises, moon rises, and all these things. So, these are artificially created effects. Okay. And Stoppard never lets us forget that we are watching a play, and a play not necessarily by Shakespeare, by Stoppard. So, it is a play within play. So, he is using all of Shakespearean devices, but to his own purpose. So, he at one level you can even say that he is being irreverential. Okay. It is not like it is like Shakespeare can be, I can do this with Shakespeare. Okay. It is with that arrogance he approaches the most celebrated play by Shakespeare. Now, a room within, crown hinges up, flourish of trumpets leading into flute and harpsichord music. Enter Polonius. Polonius is Ophelia's father. Ophelia is Hamlet's lady love. Ophelia rushes on. Ophelia is of course played by Charlie. Okay, so Charlie is another school boy, and of course Charlie is going, because it is an all boys school. So, perhaps who else would play? Polonius. How now, Ophelia, what is the matter? My lord, as I was sewing in my chamber, Lord Hamlet with his doublet all unbraced, no hat upon his head, pale as his shirt, his knees knocking each other, and with a look so piteous, he comes before me. Mad for thy love, I have found the very cause of Hamlet's lunacy. Enter Hamlet, exit Ophelia. Look, where, sadly, the poor wretch comes reading. What do you read, my lord? Words, words, words. Though this be madness, yet there is method in it. I am but mad, north, northwest. When the wind is southerly, I know a hawk from a handsaw. Slams book shut and against Polonius's chest. The actors are come hither, my lord, exits. We'll hear a play tomorrow. I have heard that guilty creatures sitting at a play have, by the very cunning of the scene, been struck so to the soul that presently they have proclaimed their malefactions. I'll have these players play something, like the murder of my father before mine uncle. If he but blench, I know my cause. The play is the thing wherein I will catch the conscience of the king. If you remember, we did this when we were talking about meta theatre. Okay. This is the scene where play within play, where Hamlet tries to catch his uncle red-handed. Red-handed in the sense that if he is indeed guilty, then it will show. He will uncle will somehow get extremely nervous, and perhaps that would be the proof of his guilt. Okay. So, play within play structure. So, wherein to be or not to be puts dagger pulled from his sleeve too hard. And Claudius and Ophelia. Now, see these little stage directions, to be or not to be, what is it about? It is supposed to be one of the best existential lines. Okay. Hamlet is actually thinking about, pondering over the nature of life. Okay. To be or not to be, to exist or not to exist. And then, because the entire soliloquy, which cannot be compressed here, so he has just taken the best and the most well known, the beginning of that soliloquy, and then given these stage directions, puts dagger pulled from his sleeve too hard, mimicking suicide, because that's the essence of to be or not to be, whether it's better to suffer and live and suffer, or just end one's misery by committing suicide. That is the essence of to be or not to be, and it is a very lengthy soliloquy. Here just one sentence, to be or not to be, dagger, and that is it, but the meaning is conveyed somehow. So, Stoppard is just, again, as I have been telling you, that it is he is trying to tell us that, you see, I am Tom Stoppard and I can do this to Shakespeare. My lord, get thee to a nunnery. Exit Ophelia and Hamlet. Love, his affections do not that way tend. There is something in his soul over which his melancholy sits on brood. He shall with speed to England. Exit Claudius and scene. A hall within the castle, flourish of trumpet. Enter Hamlet and Ophelia, Marcellus and Horatio joking, Claudius and Gertrude. Puppet player appear above stage left screen. Hamlet to puppet player. Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounced it to you, trippingly on the tongue. Hold, as it were, the mirror up to nature. We did this particular section when we were doing meta theatre. All sit to where Hamlet it could even be Shakespeare giving directions to actors, how to act, how to pronounce, how to enunciate certain words. All sit to watch puppet play, mask music. Madam, how like you the play? The lady doth protest too much, methinks. He poisons him in the garden of his estate. You shall see anon how the murderer gets the love of Gonzago's wife. Claudius rises. The king rises. Music stops. Hubbub, noise starts. What? Frighted with false fire? Exit Claudius. All give over the play. Puppets disappear. Crown disappear. Hamlet. Lights, lights, lights. I'll take the ghost's word for 1,000 pounds. Exeunt all except Polonius. Polonius, he is going to his mother's closet. Behind the arras, I'll convey myself to bear the process. End scene. The queen's apartment. Polonius stands by stage right screen and hinges a curtain out from behind it. Lute music. Enter Hamlet and Gertrude. Now, mother, what's the matter? Hamlet. Thou hast thy father much offended. Mother, you have my father much offended. Okay. So, this is Shakespeare's pun. You offend your father, she means Claudius, and he says, you offend my father, he means elder Hamlet. What wilt thou do? Thou wilt not murder me. Help, help, ho! Polonius behind the arras. Help! How now? A rat stabs Polonius, dead for a deuce at dead. Hamlet actually stabs Polonius because he is hiding behind the curtains, thick curtains, and assuming that it is his stepfather, King Claudius, hiding behind, he murders Polonius. That is the idea. And having murdered, because now he realizes that he has actually murdered Ophelia's father, who also happens to be the minister of the state. Oh me, what hast thou done? Nay, I know not. Alas, he is mad. I must be cruel only to be kind. Good night, mother. Exit Hamlet dragging Polonius. Exit Gertrude sobbing. Arras hinges back. End scene. Another room in the castle. Flourish of trumpets. Crown hinges up. Enter Claudius and Hamlet. Now Hamlet, where is Polonius? At supper. Hamlet, this deed must send thee hence. Okay. We will skip a bit. We will come to now yet another room in the castle. Flourish of trumpets. Enter Claudius and Laertes. Laertes is Polonius' son. So, now we have two sons seeking vengeance for their father's murder. One is Hamlet and another is Laertes, because Hamlet has accidentally killed Polonius. Claudius dead. Enter Ophelia in mad trance, singing and carrying a bouquet of flowers wrapped in cellophane and with her red ribbon lute music. We will skip and go to page 170. Oh, heat dry up my brains, oh kind sister. Ophelia falls to ground, she catches a flower thrown from stage right screen. Hadst thou thy wits and didst persuade revenge, it could not move thus. And when where the offence is, let the great axe fall. So, Claudius is now instigating Laertes to kill Hamlet, because he says, because of Hamlet your father died, because of Hamlet your sister has gone mad. So, there is all the more reason for you to have your revenge. Exit Claudius and Laertes. Ophelia sits up to reach gravestone, which she swings down to conceal her. Bell tolls 4 times, end scene. So, we are told that now Ophelia is dead as well, because she drowns herself. In Shakespeare, she drowns herself because she goes mad. And here how does she die? Ophelia sits up to reach gravestone. Okay, so she sits and reaches, touches a gravestone on stage, which she swings down to conceal her. So, look at another very Brechtian technique. She is going behind a gravestone, suggesting, because you can't in a school play naturally you can't show a lake where Ophelia goes and drowns herself. How do you do that? So, there is a gravestone and Ophelia goes behind that, and that suggests that she is dead. A churchyard, enter Gravedigger and Hamlet. I am sure you are familiar with the Gravedigger scene where Hamlet finds the skull of Yorick. Yorick happened to be his court jester. Hamlet, ere we were 2 days at sea, a pirate of very warlike appointment gave us chase. In the grapple I boarded them. On the instant they got clear of our ship, so I alone became their prisoner. They have dealt with me like thieves of mercy. I was abducted when I was going to England, because in the last scene you remember Claudius says that you are off to England, and here, although we are not shown, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern appear in Shakespeare at this moment. They appear, they are supposed to escort Shakespeare to England and help Claudius in assassinating Hamlet. However, he turns the table on his friends, and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead by the hired assassins, and Hamlet is abducted by by some pirates, but they release him. So, all this while when Ophelia went mad and she kills herself, all this while Hamlet was not there. That is the reason for he does not know anything. So, what is he that builds stronger than either the mason, the shipwright or the carpenter, a grave maker? The houses he makes will last till doomsday. Gravedigger gives skull to Hamlet. This same this same skull, sir, was Yorick's skull, the king's jester. Alas, poor Yorick, but soft, that is Laertes. So, you know, the famous Yorick speech where Hamlet, I do not know how many of you are familiar with this very enduring image of Hamlet holding a skull in his hands. Most Hamlet posters, you know, they come with that. That is you know, an enduring image from Hamlet. Hamlet holding the Yorick's skull in his hands and talking. It's all about, you know, pondering over the issues of life, death, mortality and all. So, he says this is the man who used to play with me, who he would make everybody laugh. He was the court jester, but now he is dead and he has turned into a skeleton, okay, and he holds his skull. What ceremony else? Lay her in the earth. At the same time, Laertes also comes to the graveyard, and this time he is here to bury his sister Ophelia. Enter Claudius and Gertrude. Hamlet. What? The fair Ophelia? Oh, triple woe, hold off the earth a while, till I have caught her once more in my arms. Hamlet, re-entering acting area. What is he whose grief bears such an emphasis? That is I, Hamlet the Dane. The devil take thy soul, the grapple, away thy hand. Claudius and Gertrude pull them apart. Hamlet, Hamlet, I loved Ophelia, what wilt thou do for her? Oh, he is mad, Laertes. Exit Claudius, Gertrude and Laertes. A hall in the castle, flourish of trumpets, crown hinges up, enter Hamlet. There is a divinity that shapes our end, rough hew them how we will, but thou wouldst now think how ill all's here, but about my heart, but it is no matter, we defy augury. There is a special providence in the fall of a sparrow. If it be now, it is not to come. If it be not to come, it will be now. If it be not now, yet it will come. The readiness is all. Laertes enters with Osric bearing swords, followed by Claudius and Gertrude with goblets. So, this is the final scene from Hamlet, where and now see how quickly they have come to the end of Hamlet here. Come, my lord. Oh, one, no, judgment, a hit, a very palpable hit. Okay. Stay, give me a drink. Hamlet, this pearl is thine, here's to thy health. Drops pearl in goblet. Look, the king has made all arrangements for Hamlet's death. So, he not only has poisoned Laertes' sword, so that even a minor cut would kill Hamlet, because the sword is poison, but he also in just assuming that in case Hamlet wins this sword play against Laertes, so you know, as a winner Hamlet has to take a drink from the king, and then he poisons the drink as well. Okay. So, he is extremely well prepared to kill Hamlet. Give him the cup, the queen carouses to thy fortune, Hamlet. Gertrude, do not drink. Now, mother says, I drink to your health, and she drinks the poison wine. I will, my lord, I will hit him now. Have at you now. They grapple and fight. Part them, they are incensed. They bleed on both sides. Osric and Claudius part them. I am justly killed by my own treachery. The drink, I am poisoned, dies. Treachery seeks it out. Enter Fortinbras. It is here, Hamlet, Hamlet, thou art slain. Lo, here I lie, never to rise again. The king's to blame. The point and venom to, then venom to thy work. Kills Claudius, crown hinges down. Exchange forgiveness with me, noble Hamlet. I follow thee, I cannot live to hear the news from England. The rest is silence. Good night, sweet prince, and flights of angels sing to thy rest. Turns to face away from audience. Go, bid the soldiers shoot. 4 shots heard from off stage, all stand, bow once and exit, end. Okay, so this is how and the play ends. Now, again, as we have been talking about how quickly the play begins and ends, and everybody is happy, although we doubt whether they understood it at all, because they speak in which language? Dog language, and this is Shakespeare is completely foreign to them. Do you think that Stoppard is also saying something here when he talks about, you know, when he abridges Shakespeare so mercilessly? Okay, he cuts out all the philosophical and ruminative points from Shakespeare. You see, um, we have done that article, the essay by Freud, Hamlet and Oedipus. Okay. There is no mention of that particular passage where Hamlet rebukes his mother for bedding her own brother-in-law. Okay. So, there is a, because that is the point which Freud highlights, okay, that Hamlet has a problem with his mother's sex life. Okay, so that issue is never brought up because it is a school play after all, you see. And then all the soliloquies are chopped off. Then we also Fortinbras. Who is Fortinbras? Enters Fortinbras. Fortinbras, who is he? He is the one who eventually takes over the kingdom and peace is finally restored in Denmark. Okay, but there is no, absolutely no mention of Fortinbras throughout. Okay, although he is also an minor yet important character of Hamlet. No mention of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Okay, no mention of or no description of Ophelia's madness. Okay, so there is nothing. However, the audience seem to enjoy the play, although they do not understand it at all. The encore. Now, they have actually enjoyed it a lot and there is an encore. And encore signs appear above each screen. So, you just think Brecht, signs appear on screen and again Stoppard nodding at Brecht also. Flourish of trumpets, crown hinges up, enter Claudius and Gertrude. Are sometimes sister, now our queen, enter Hamlet. Now see already he has truncated it, but now look again, now there is an encore and what to do and we do not have time. So, look at the further abridgment of Hamlet. Claudius, are sometimes sister, now our queen. See, they are dead, but they are back, it's they have to, they have just received thunderous adulation and applause. Enter Hamlet. Here, have you taken to wife? Hamlet, that it should come to this. Exit Claudius and Gertrude. Wind noise, moon hinges up. Enter Horatio. My lord, I saw him yesternight, the king your father. Angels and ministers of grace defend us. Exit running through rest of speech. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. Enter ghost above. I am thy father's spirit. The serpent that did is sting thy father's life. Enter Hamlet above. Now wears his crown. O my prophetic soul, hereafter I shall think meet to put an antic disposition on. Moon hinges down, exeunt. Look where sadly the poor wretch comes. Exit Polonius, running. Enter Hamlet. I have heard that guilty creatures sitting at a play have by the very cunning of the scene been struck. Enter Claudius, Gertrude, Ophelia, Marcellus and Horatio joking. All sit to watch imaginary play. Puppets appear above screen. If he but blench, I know my cause. Mask music, Claudius rises, the king rises, give over the play, exeunt all. I will take the ghost's word for £1,000. Mother, you have my father much offended. Gertrude, help. Polonius, help, ho. Stabs Polonius, dead for a ducat, dead. Polonius falls dead off stage, exit Gertrude and Hamlet. Short flourish of trumpets, enter Claudius followed by Hamlet. Hamlet, this deed must send thee hence. Exit Hamlet. Do it, England. Exit Claudius. Enter Ophelia. Falls to ground, rises and pulls gravestone to cover herself. Bell tolls twice. Enter Gravedigger and Hamlet. A pirate gave us chase. I alone became their prisoner. Takes skull from Gravedigger. Alas, poor Yorick, but soft. Returns skull to Gravedigger. This is I, Hamlet the Dane. Exit Gravedigger. Enter Laertes. The devil take thy soul. They grapple, they break. Enter Osric, between them with swords. Claudius and Gertrude with goblets. Come on, sir, Laertes and Hamlet fight. A hit, a very palpable hit. Give him the cup, Gertrude, do not drink. I am poisoned, dies. Hamlet, thou art slain, dies. Then venom to thy work, kills Claudius, crown hinges down. The rest is silence, dies. 2 shots off stage and they already have another rendering of the play. Okay. So, now look at the structure of the play also, compare it to the 5-act structure and look at Dogg's Hamlet's structure. What do you think? Can you comment on that? See, earlier you have seen that a classically constructed play has 5 um, uh, at least it can be divided into 5 parts. The exposition, the rising action, climax, falling action and the denouement. Now, what happens here? In Dog's Hamlet, do you find a structure? Yes, you tell me. The actors stand up to take their curtain call. While this is going on, Easy walks on whistling. Now, our friend Easy, who the only person who speaks English the way it should be spoken, lifts lid from steps. Now, he had come here to build the stage, and now the job is over. So, he is putting it, folding the stage, removes a cube and walks off with it. The actors retired. Easy to audience, cube. Now, there is again a pun on the word cube. Cube is also a structure, a part of the stage, and cube is also in Dog's language, thanks. Okay. So, now Easy comes forward and thanks the audience, and in their language, Dog's language, to audience, cube. He walks out. Okay. And here you will find when you read Cahoot's Macbeth, Easy appears again. So, at this point we can anticipate what is going to happen in Cahoot's Macbeth. However, coming back to the structure part of it, do you think the play has a beginning, a middle and an end like a conventional play? Not really, and that is what absurdists like Tom Stopper try to tell us, that life really does not have a structure. Okay, so, you do not have a structure. So, life is chaotic, it is orderless, and therefore, this kind of dramatic structure which is completely devoid of order. Excuse me. You also look at futility of speech, because the way Easy now converts to Dog's language, okay, the way he started off this morning, and by the end of the evening he is now speaking Dog's language. So, futility of language, futility of speech, okay, banality of everyday speech that impedes communication. Okay, so, language itself, as we have been talking about, is just not enough to support communication. So, for people like Stopper, language is the ultimate anthropistic or a useless force, because at one point he is also saying that although this audience, the Dog speakers, they do not understand English, but they are able to admire Hamlet for whatever reason. They do not follow the language at all. Okay. So, language therefore becomes absolutely banal, absolutely useless, because they are asking for an encore. Okay. They are receiving it well, they are receiving the play extremely well. Therefore, it suggests that language is after all not everything. You can see that that is Dog's Hamlet and what they do to Shakespeare. All right. So, any questions at this point? Any observations on the way the play is done apart from language part?
Someone who wants to stage this play, it's a rather difficult play, and especially
difficult to understand because of
Difficult to understand unless you have some background understanding of Hamlet. Yeah.
and even the first part of the play, the language, delivering those lines as in without making them sound like sentences and just not random words is rather.
It must have been extremely difficult for the actors.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. To get familiar with that language itself must have been quite a task.
Like the language learning process.
Yeah.
Tom Stoppard is trying to tell us something about that also. I mean, concentrate, oh, this is a sentence or something like that. But as we grow,
We don't worry about the structure.
Grammar,
as such.
the syntax, yes.
That's also-
Yeah, and I also notice the way easy converts at the end, because it's also, he is also like a child. So, you know, you spend some time with the speakers of a particular language, then it's a so called native language, and perhaps you would learn it as well. Okay, that is also Stopper's supposition. Also consider the way these things were, this play was being rehearsed and enacted. At one point we also see that the actors are rehearsing and speaking out the lines without emotions, okay, without really feeling the lines. Okay, they do not have a feel for the language, yet they are able to speak and they are able to memorize. It is not their language, they do not know what they are saying, but somehow they have memorized it so well that they are able to speak and actually do a play, which is quite a task. Do you think Stoppard is also trying to tell us what has become of Shakespeare and his art in contemporary times? You know, he has Shakespeare perhaps has become a cliche. Okay. Anybody can do Shakespeare, that is the idea. Perhaps that is the premise, anybody can do Shakespeare in any way they want to. Okay. They do not really need to be really need to have that love for the language, they do not have to be great actors, they just have to memorize a couple of lines. And so Shakespeare perhaps has turned into some kind of a commodity, especially in a land where he was born and he was revered so much. Okay. So, that could be, you know, Stoppard's commentary on his own people. And also, you know, most of the philosophical, most of the reflective parts of Hamlet are just expurgated here, they are just left out. What we find, a woman marrying her husband's brother, okay, that idea is brought about. A girl falling in love with the prince and going mad and killing herself, yes, it is there. Then another, you know, son taking revenge on his father's murder, Polonius's son Laertes, and he is seeking revenge, that is there. And then at the end we find so many deaths, so many dead bodies on stage. So, perhaps Shakespeare is more appreciated for the melodrama and less for his language. Perhaps that could be one idea. Okay. But again, as we have been talking about the postmodern element, postmodernist literature, it could, you know, Stoppard does not really consider himself a postmodernist. However, you can see the traces, it is an open ended play, you can have multiple interpretations of the ending. It does not provide for an easy closure, right. Okay. So, it could be anything, and from, yeah.
Throughout this play, we have about, I think, 2 or 3 instances where they fight and the wall that they're building falls down.
Yeah.
The wall may be a symbol of language or understanding of each other's language as such, because every time or before the wall falls as such, they seem to be moving towards understanding each other to a certain extent, and then the wall falls and everything becomes chaotic all of a sudden again. And then again they move towards it and again the wall falls. I don't know.
You know what is the origin of a theatre of the absurd? We had done that, our two friends Abhay and Ronak, they had talked about Commedia dell'arte, remember? That was an Italian farcical comedy, okay, lots of horseplay, lot of physical comedy happening. Okay. Then at the same time they were also the exponents of the theatre of the absurd, the early ones. They were also influenced by the Dadaists, the Surrealists, and also the circus players, the circus actors, who would who would be involved in plenty of horseplay and several different kinds of physical acts. Also the silent films of Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, okay, who were totally slapstick. So, that could be one reason. So, Stoppard again, because Stoppard being a Britisher, okay, Charlie Chaplin also an Englishman. Okay. So, perhaps a homage paid to those comedians of yesteryears. Well, comedy would arise from physical, from slapstick acts. Okay. So, that could be one explanation for what is happening. Why are they at one point Easy makes a mistake and then he himself goes and breaks through the wall. That is also there. That is very Chaplinesque. That is very and in the tradition of the Marx brothers, Buster Keaton and all. So, perhaps that could be one explanation to provide laughter for the audience. Okay. Alright, so we will continue with Cahoot's Macbeth and meet on Thursday. Thank you.